Hey, welcome back to Heroes and Videos. Welcome to another episode of Mighty Thor Thursday. Now, the first Mighty Thor Thursday was such a hit. I was telling folks, man, I may never do that again. But nope, I'm forging ahead with another edition of Mighty Thor Thursday. If you like the episode, please hit like below. I'd love to have you subscribe to the channel. And with no further ado, let's get right to it. We're going to look at some Mighty Thor comics from my collection. Stick around to the end. We'll be talking about the newest Thor book that's out. Hope you'll stick around for that. First up is Thor 154. This is a great Thor Kirby cover there. I'm going to guess Vince Coletta on the inks, looking at how that Thor looks. That's all I'll say about that. A lot of stuff going on in the background there with Ulick, with Mangog. I don't honestly remember which it is. I always thought he was a pretty trippy looking guy for a villain. It was one of Kirby's, let's call it experimental creations, very much like Arnim Zola. He seemed to be playing around with the size of different parts of characters, and Mangog there got a very large head and teeny little arms. So that is Thor 154. Next up, Thor 172. This is going to be a bit of a theme today. Thor and Odin not getting along. Odin was not the best dad, I don't think. Neither in mythology, the actual Norse mythology, or in Marvel Comics. You'll see they're in some kind of dream sleep there. Surprise! Jane Foster is in this book, in this very issue. But you can see they're in their dreamscape, where whatever there is going on there with them sleeping, they are obviously at odds on that cover. So Thor 172. Shout out to Ram Santa over my shoulder here, who's standing in for Odin today. Whose house? Ram's house. Football season will soon be upon us. Before the next Mighty Thor Thursday even. In fact, Mighty Thor Thursday tonight is the opening game of the NFL season, so go Rams. Next up, Thor 180. This is, I believe, Neil Adams' first work on Thor. He did not do, I don't think he did that cover. It is entirely possible he did. It doesn't quite have the same Adams look inside, but he did... you know what? Let's crack it open and see. He did the interiors on this book, and it's not quite his Avengers work, like on the Kree Skrull War, but it is. There is some good stuff in here. He's kind of doing a bit of Kirby here, with Big Daddy Odin there looking a little slim, as a lot of Neil's art does. Don't want to give away too much here. Ooh, pretty cool multi-page there back in the day when they do half an ad on a page. So I don't know how that ends up being in print in a trade, for instance, nowadays. But you see Mephisto shows up. Always cool to see Neil Adams doing a Mephisto. Just a good example here of his head work there, with Mephisto with the fangs and whatnot. But just really good art inside that book. Thor 180, keeping that same Odin Thor theme going here, is Thor 217. Mentioned in an earlier video that the first Thor I picked up consecutively, reading them off the spinner stand every month, was 218. So I didn't have this issue for years, and I don't know about you all, but when you're a kid first reading comics, these things are happening. Like when you're younger and you're reading the books, you're viewing what's going on with this character month to month. So it's a little weird to go back and say, well, let me see what happened before I met them, or before I first started reading their adventures. So I had no idea going into 218 that this had happened just prior. I had no idea that the Thor Odin thing was such I don't want to say abusive parent, but the whole cycle of Odin and Thor throwing down was something that happens quite a bit in the Thor comics. So it's sort of a trope, and certainly in mythology it's an ongoing thing. But there's Thor's not coming out too well on the end of this. Odin versus Thor, God versus God, and to the loser, death. I already mentioned that 218, the issue after that, was my first regular book of Thor. So I guess we know at least who didn't die in that issue. Few issues after that, Thor 223, Thor versus Pluto. This is another one of those books that I was reading this story for the first time, but about 100 issues earlier in this book was a very similar story where you've got Hercules and Thor, and Pluto ends up being the bad guy, but I didn't realize at that point it was something that was repeatable, so much like in the mid-70s when Marvel was bringing back their main villains in a lot of books about once a year or so. I'm looking at you, Fantastic Four and Doctor Doom. This I guess was what was going on with Pluto. So as hard of a time as folks give Chris Claremont about recycling X-Men stuff over the years in his runs, he was certainly not the first creator to do that, and I'm sure he's not the last. I just really like this cover with the flaming sword. You're not used to seeing Thor, though the last issue had him a little beaten too, but you're not used to seeing Thor on the defensive like that. And it's got the requisite mid-70s damsel in distress there. But yeah, just to really love this storyline. It was the first, it was one of the first storylines that really hooked me with Thor as an ongoing, like the fact that month to month, it seemed like the stakes were getting just that much higher. And that continued in that run after that Pluto issue. We're going to jump up to Walt Simonson's run, Mighty Thor 350. This is, I don't want to give spoilers for the book I'm going to be talking about at the end, but this is, this struck me as a little related to that book. I just always love seeing Beta Ray Bill in a great classic Simonson cover. It is interesting to me that it's a little off center. I don't know if that's a colorist thing where there is a lot going on over here on this side of the cover, with Asgardians and, coming out of Asgard there on the bridge, but you don't really notice them unless you look close. Because Beta Ray Bill and Thor are kind of taking over that cover, and the fact they're off center just always looked a little odd to me, but it's still just an amazing cover nonetheless. Thor 350, another interesting book in that in Marvel at the time a lot of stuff would build up to an anniversary issue. So, and the climactic Surtur battle is not in that issue; it's a few issues after that. So it was a little weird that we were bringing up 350 there, and yet about a year into Simonson's run. And yet that wasn't the conclusion of the story. We are getting close to the end here. Had to bring up Frenetic Ron Friends. This title, when Tom DeFalco was writing the book and Ron was drawing it, it was just so cool that it was just, you never knew who was going to show up issue to issue. And Dane Whitman, Black Knight's one of my favorite characters. That is, he's there on that cover. Into the Realm of Death. It's just, I just like that. And Ron Friends is just, pound for pound, always turns in some great covers and some great art. We are getting up to the end here with the Immortal Thor. The Immortal Thor has just been a fantastic run. If you're not reading it, you should. Unfortunately, it just wrapped up. But I love those Alex Ross covers. Hey, kids at home, do not do this to your comics, what you see the Enchantress doing here. Certainly don't do it to Journey into 83, Thor's first appearance, but I just love how, and also with the trade dress, whenever they mess around with that, it's kind of a cool thing. So there she's tearing the not only the title of the book in half, but the Thor's first appearance in half as well. Got that wicked enchantress look about her, not beguiling there as much as not happy. But this is Immortal Thor number 9, which in the scheme of things is Legacy number 770. Bringing this up as well as the next one, which is Immortal Thor, because it mentions here in number 20 of that book, another great cover. This is Thor's final adventure, and it may very well be. It's this Thor number 20, puts it at Legacy 781, so I guess we're getting close to a big 800. But this is the beginning of the end of this title, which wrapped up in Immortal Thor number 25. And that brings me to the last book here for Mighty Thor Thursday. This is not the Immortal Thor, but this is the Mortal Thor number 1. Another great Alex Ross cover. If you want a good starting point, this is it. I mean, ideally, you go back and want to read the Immortal Thor. You don't have to have read that to enjoy this book. It's one of those where, whether you read the last issue of Immortal Thor or not, or whether you've ever read Thor or not, you're going to be just as confused opening this book. But I trust the writer. I trust the artist. That the story is great. It It's just really good. It's really good, and it's got me wondering what's going on here. They do talk to you about it a little bit in the on the letters page, like the editor's note. This apparently is the second of 3 volumes that the writer intended, with the Immortal Thor, those 25 issues being Act 1. This is the beginning of Act 2. But you can jump on board with this one, and again, great story. Talk about it a little bit more maybe in the new comics video that's coming out this weekend. But that is it for Mighty Thor Thursday. Would love to hear what you think of various Thor runs. What did you think of Immortal Thor? What do you think of the Odin Thor dynamic? Maybe that'll be a whole separate video. As always, would love to have you subscribe to the channel. Let me know what you think, what your favorite Thor comics are. And for then, we will see you next Mighty Thor Thursday, maybe every other week. I'll see how that schedule works out. Again, if it's as popular as it has been, this might be the last episode of Mighty Thor Thursday. But as always, Heroes and Videos will still be putting out episodes, so we'd love to see you back next time. With that, keep reading comics, keep going to see movies, and be kind to each other.